Hello, and we're live. Welcome to episode 4 in our amazing series. I'm Mia Voss here with Inspect.Com. Look at these gentlemen I have with me here today. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi,
Give us
Mia.
an introduction for everybody. Jeff, talk about you. Jeff, who are you?
I'm Jeff Bond. I'm a home inspector with Inspect.net and someone that's fortunate to have found Inspect.com.
You sure did. And guess who we have with us today again? We have the amazing Ammon Johns coming in from the UK. Thank you for being up late and talking with us again.
Always a pleasure.
All right, so if you are just now tuning in, this is the 4th episode. This is the Grow Your Online Presence series. And today we're going to be talking about, gentlemen, conversion rate optimization. Lots of busy words, right?
Critical words, though, is basically just improving your batting average.
Exactly. So if you have not been able to catch the other episodes, we have popped those links right here down below. You'll also see them if you're watching this in the replay. So we also have a guest that's going to be joining us about 20 minutes into the show. What are we going to be doing with our guest today, Jeff?
We have a real live home inspector. He's from Huntsville, Alabama. His name is Todd Thuss. He runs Integra Inspect in Huntsville. He's an engineer, and there's my phone. He's got 30 years of engineering experience and he's going to share with us his struggles and what he's going through to create an online presence. And we're very fortunate and feel very happy to have him here.
Yes, so you're going to want to stay tuned because this is going to be live checking under the hood here with Todd's business. So we're very excited that he's joining us as a willing guinea pig so we can make sure his business is looking good. Right, gentlemen?
Make it happen.
All right, here we go. So are you ready to get started?
Would love to.
All right, so we're going to bring up our slides. Today we have a little bit more of the screen than we usually do. As I mentioned, we are talking about conversion rate optimization. This is our Grow Your Online Presence series. So gentlemen, let's jump in.
Yep. I like this topic, Mia, because it gets down to the real meat and potatoes. This is kind of where it's really at. The rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is where things get done. So this is our outline for today. Gentlemen, you ready to jump in?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, who's first? I'm just here to run your show.
Yeah.
So this is our outline is what are conversions? Understand what your potential customer needs from you. Super important. And help is defined by the recipient. I like that. That's a little cryptic. I can't wait to hear what that means.
Let's go to that next slide.
You got it.
And this is kind of where it starts. This is where I simplistically think that a conversion is something simple, and then right off the bat is Emma gets into the macro and the micro conversions and helps understand that. So this is why I just ask Emma to kind of explain that whole concept of micro and macro conversion and exactly what a conversion is.
Yeah. Before, it's easy to think, I put up a website and at the end of it, customers roll out. But there's a whole lot of different things that have to happen before you get to that goal. Somebody has to hear about your company. That may be through search listings, it may be through somebody talking about you, but you need to have done something that is making that possible. If you've never done anything, nobody's going to hear of you. If you've got no advertising out there, nobody's going to hear of you. So the very first part is from somebody hearing about you to being interested. They've heard about you, so they go and check you out. Are they impressed? Impressing them is another micro conversion. They could be disappointed and walk away. If you impress them and they stick around, that's another micro conversion on the path to that big old proper conversion of a sale. So all the way through, we want to think about all of the little steps, all of the little decision processes, and something called Zero Moment of Truth by Google, which is all about, that one instant of when something either works or doesn't work. But there is an instant for each part. And sometimes, that end conversation with the wife is necessary before that final booking. And again, how do we influence that? How do we make sure that the husband has the information to give to the wife, or vice versa? If we're dealing with commercial enterprises, is the guy that's checking out the website the sole decision maker, or does he have to make a presentation to his colleagues or his boss? and how are we helping him make the case that this is the inspector that they want to work with. So all of these things are things we think about. All of the steps along the way are micro conversions, and we want to maximize all of them.
That's really interesting for me because I'm more of an aggregator, assistance person. Is they're all a whole lot of important pieces, but the collection is what I'm focused on. But it's really interesting to see how it's like a whole couple hour conversation can really boil down to like 1 second, and the whole instant of that conversion can become make or break for the whole 2 hours of setup. That's just mind blowing to learn that.
Yeah.
But they all work together. It's definitely a ecosystem of all these different conversions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. The standard thing that we talk about is a sales funnel, and that's because we get narrower and narrower, and also we're eliminating more and more people that didn't convert as we come down that funnel. The people who first hear of you is the top of the funnel. The next step, the people who actually engage, who can work with you. Maybe you're out of their area. Oh, I heard about this from my friend, but they don't cover my area. Well, they're out. So all of these things that eliminate people, but we want to get as many as possible down through that funnel to the end conversion. And so we want to make sure that we are looking at the whole funnel and smoothing out every single part of it and making every part of it as efficient as possible.
I call that filtering out the noise, but it sounds like in this case it's filtering in to make sure you keep in the potential contacts. You're trying to kind of definitely get rid of the chaff, but you're also really focusing on also making sure that you're really focusing on the wheat that you're getting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's two sides of that whole equation. Understood. Yeah,
And as you're going through this, and as you're going through this process, if you go back and look at episode 3, Ammon really jumped and dived into that and dove into that as well, of getting that down and again, being very clear about what your area is and what you're going to set your boundaries. It was a really good conversation. So this goes in line with that as well.
Yeah, all the way through this series, we've tried to present this so that every single thing is a foundation for the next step, and all the way through. The reason that we're covering conversions today, still early on in the process, is this is the foundation. This is where that rubber meets the road. If you're not converting, everything else is a waste of time. So you want your conversions to be up there before you worry about advertising, before you worry about getting thousands of people to your site. You want a site where if you send 10 people there, one of them has to buy this thing.
Yeah, that's so wonderful too, because especially at these lower numbers of conversions, is just getting one additional conversion makes a substantial growth to your business, and to understand that you can do that immediately, and then throughout the whole process, and that everything compounds in terms of the benefits, or not having to go through the loss function is. I will say that when I structured this series and started to put this thing together, in my mind, I finished up with conversions as like, hey, when you finally figure everything out is convert. And Ammon said, as you know, Jeff, this belongs way back up here, because why are you waiting all the way till here to do this when you should be doing it through the whole process? And that's just what a lot of small businesses do. They don't do business well. They do what they do well, but they don't do the business part of it well. So it's really critical to make sure that you work on your conversions always and immediately.
So no skipping any steps, folks. And then also going in, because you're right, Jeff, a lot of us put that at the very end of it. So if we don't put this up at the top, we're going to miss a lot of the juicy bits too. And again, would also potentially be attracting folks we just don't want to work with or aren't the right fit for us.
Yes.
Right. Speaking of marriage of sales with marketing, which is one of our other points here.
Yeah, that really is yes. A lot of times a successful business is not getting what you want, but making sure you don't get what you don't want is staying away from the problems. That's just a super point.
It's like dating principles in business.
It is.
You ready for the next one?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
All right, the ADA. Let's talk about that.
I just can't let Ammon talk right to that, because he hit me with a good one here.
I like it. Well, I love acronyms, so I'm a sucker for those.
This is a classic marketing acronym, more from sales and marketing than pure marketing, but ADA is attention, interest, desire, and action. These are the 4 stages that somebody has to go through before you're going to get an action out of them. first you've got to get their attention, because they're not going to hear anything if they're not paying attention. But once you've got their attention, it's easy for somebody to look, realize that it's not for them, and look away. You need their interest, so attention, interest. But before you're going to get their money, or before you're going to get them to act, they have to want it. And I've said before, desire is more important than need. Desire is always more important than need. People will bookmark things they need, they'll put them off, they'll wait, but that thing they want to do, they'll do straight away.
Ammon, is I tell people all the time when I'm doing a home inspection is, look, here's a list of things, and what you need to do is you need to work on what you need to work on first, and then you can work on what you want to. And, it just so confirms what you're saying, because in buying a house, it's so important. That should be an automatic. You should automatically go, I'm going to fix what I need to, and then I'll fix what I want to. But for some reason, is fresh carpet and paint, and then the toilet's still leaky, it's not happening. So it just really magnifies the fact that people's desires override what they need. And so you have to understand that mechanism. Again, is if you're a practical person like me, you're just going, that makes no sense. But it happens all the time.
Some of it is like the reason that we've got conversion optimization before we got the traffic, which seems odd to people. Well, there's nothing to convert yet. I know, but if you can double your conversion rate now, then everything else you do is going to be twice as effective, double as efficient. You're going to get double the bang for your buck in everything else you do. Whereas if you wait till afterwards, you've wasted half your money effectively.
That's a 4 times impact, really. It really is. That's exactly what it quantifies to. That's a 2 to the second power loss. So you're blowing 75% of your energy if you do it wrong.
Yeah.
Time is money, folks. I love that. And I think that is the piece too, that everybody thinks they have to go through the certain steps. But if you get this piece, I love that. And if you want to call it AIDA, if we want to name it AIDA like the opera, or AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action. All right, hit where it matters.
Yeah. And you've got to get into what we talked about last week, which was where you're talking about how people's mindsets are working. If somebody's in a hurry, then what matters to them is speed and getting it now. And it changes the way they evaluate all of the rest of their decision making, because they're interested in getting it now, and availability becomes key. They may turn down a better service because they can't get it when they want it. So always understand what somebody is after from you, so that you can frame everything within that context and help them see that this does meet what they want.
And then that brings you next to find the things that will stop the sale or affect the price.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know what's funny too here is sometimes we're our own worst enemy. We're stopping the sale because of what we're doing and who we are.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're projecting on people a lot of times too, right? Well, I don't think they would like this. I think they would like this. And that's where you need to get super, super clear about it.
And this applies, of course, to your customers as an inspector, especially when you're working for the seller or for the realtor. Find the things that will stop the sale or affect the price is going to matter to them. And the same for the buyer, except you want to find the things that are going to stop the sale or affect the price that you can inform them about and help them to either avoid making that costly mistake altogether or to negotiate a better price.
And, interestingly, in terms of being a home inspector, we're kind of asked to be a judge, is not to have a bias for the buyer or the seller, but just to represent truth and justice. And, so you'll get a buyer that's just picking on the carpet, just like saying, is that a carpet stain? This carpet needs to be replaced. And I'm going, that's a jump. Could be clean. And do you agree? And I'm like, it's like, well, hey, you should probably talk to your realtor about that. Is what I do is not let myself get pinned in people reframing things or recharacterizing them and then positioning with like a quick follow-up, and you agree, right? And the inspector said this, and I'm going, I didn't say that. You said it. I didn't say no. And so it's very important to make sure that you're very clear is that you're there to be the expert. And that, in the end, is what needs to be heard. And if people are trying to rewrite that narrative on the go as you're speaking, it becomes important to make sure that you interrupt that so that the truth comes out, because that's what you're there for.
So this is a muscle to build as well. The better you get at this as an inspector, the more people are going to respect you. You're going to have more time because you've got your business acumen down, right, guys? And you know what you're doing. So it goes right into understand what your potential customers need from you, speaking their language. Don't get in the way of your own sales.
Exactly that. And understand that the language of the buyer, the seller, and the realtor are slightly different. And your job is often to act as an intermediary between them to help them speak each other's language. Regardless of which one hired you, your job is to enable better communication and fairness and justice between them.
And is absolutely I'm sure you see this too, Mia, but like is a guy's a buyer or girl, and they're just on it, and they're just drilling, and it's just like, oh, this is the white glove treatment, 555. I've never been scrutinized like this. And then the same person will turn around as a seller, and basically just not see anything. What's the problem? I don't see a problem, and I'm going, that's the same person.
Yes.
And so as we're in this process of buying and selling, and as the role, it's important is if you're a buyer to remember what it's like to be a seller, and if you're a seller, what it's like to be a buyer. And I think that helps a lot of times with is a home inspector just making sure that people understand that it keeps everything kind of reasonably framed. And obviously it's important, it's a critical decision, but those are negotiations. Those are part of real estate with buyers, sellers, and money, and they're not part of the inspection process.
And
so dispatch
to an
that.
extent, that is something that is true in all e-commerce. The number of people I see who expect their customers to behave completely differently to the way they behave as a customer is ludicrous. As a customer, they will shop around, they will look at lots of things. And when they're trying to run their business, they try and imagine like they're the only business that their customer is going to see. That the customer behaves in a completely unrealistic manner. No, the customer behaves much like you do.
Exactly. I know it from being in the punch world too. So help is defined by the recipient. Here we go. Offer, don't insist. Know when and where to apply help. Let customer know this could cost you.
Yeah. This is that lesson we all know where I'm only helping. No, you're not helping. We've all said that, and we know what that difference is. Help is defined by the recipient. Our intent to help is in our hands. We intend to, but whether or not it is help, that is all up to the recipient to decide. And we need to understand that all the way through. That as an inspector, we are there to help them with something, and we need to understand what it is they need, not to be dictating it, but to be facilitating it.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yes. Is this maybe sometimes this really help is defined as just simply not saying and doing anything, because is at that point is there's some internal decision that's being made, and all you're doing is making it harder for them to focus on what they're really trying to think about.
Exactly. And you gave us a great example earlier, Jeff, where you said about the couple they're looking at the windows and thinking about what drapes they're going to get. And you're trying to get them to understand that this plumbing is a serious issue, and they're busy putting the imaginary furniture in and hanging drapes. Well, understand that's what they need to do. So let them do that. And then move to what you need them to know. You can do both. What makes you think that your thing is more important to them?
They're not
what
wrong.
You want to discuss, Exactly.
They're absolutely
never
right.
Wrong.
They're doing what they want. They're not wrong. Is you have to work to make sure that you kind of work towards their right. Yeah, that.
And that's the last point of otherwise you're really in the way.
Yeah.
And again, we're talking about people's homes, folks. I mean, that's where it really gets super, super personal. Are we ready to bring Todd in, by the way? That was our last slide that we
I'd love to see him.
Points.
Yeah.
So let's bring, I wish I had a drum roll and some kind of little applause thing. So I'll just do the
I'll give him applause. Hey, look, this real home inspector has a real business in Huntsville, Alabama, and an engineer, and I think it's awesome to have him here. Thanks, Todd, for stopping in. Really appreciate it. You're working on your online presence, aren't you?
I am. Yes. Thanks for having me.
Sure. And you are listed at Inspect.com. So it's very meta here. We have someone who is actually listed on our website as well. And then we're going to talk about your website. So I have pulled that up. Are y'all ready to jump in and look under this Integra Inspection Services hood? Here we go. There he is.
Yeah. This is your website, huh, Todd? Why don't you explain like what you went through to get this website up?
This has been a nightmare. I started out with a Wix site. I guess a lot of people go that route. And I got contacted by a company that, their word, specializes in taking homegrown sites and kind of revamping them, making them polished, upgraded. And basically, it's a WordPress, built with Elementor. They did an adequate job with it, but I'm kind of a control freak. It really, they copied over the content and probably did about a C average, C minus average type of a. So I've basically been fiddling with this thing and found it's very frustrating to keep the text and things aligned properly as this different browser sizes. It's been a very difficult, and I don't really know that they knew exactly what they were doing.
It looks good, but I'm hearing you say it's tough to manage it.
Yeah. I was told by by WordPress experts that this really wasn't, the foundation wasn't laid properly to get this where it should have been. So it's very important when you're building a site to make sure that the fundamentals are there and they're solid. Jeff, you've spoken at length about the importance of having, a good theme. The middle layer that actually layers over top of something like WordPress that allows you to do, that's very important to choose carefully, because if you don't, you'll wind up with a lot of plugins that you have compatibility issues.
A lot of problems. Emma, we've had Emma look at this for about a minute. Emma, what are you thinking here with this website overall, and first thoughts on it, and just ideas for Todd? And he's got a website, but maybe it sounds like it's unmanageable.
I would really want to be looking at the code to see what was going on behind the scenes. What I'm seeing straight away is I'm having trouble finding this on Google when I search for Integra Inspection Services. I'm finding LinkedIn, Facebook, Homestars, IntegraInspections.com with a hyphen, Inspect.com, Thumbtack. I'm not finding you on the first page of Google at all.
Do you want to share your screen, Ammon, to show us what you're seeing?
Yeah, sure.
That's okay if it's too much. I like Todd's cat photobombing us in the background there. I just wanted to acknowledge that we're all working at home here, and
you see a cat back there?
Going. I do, and it's. He's off to the side. This is definitely. Can you share it, or you want me to just share back on this screen too? Todd, what are some of the other things that you're running across with your website, though? And oh, there goes Ammon. Let's see. Oh, here he goes.
Yeah. So here's what I'm getting, and
that's the wrong Integra.
I see one down at the bottom.
You do have this issue of local. It depends on what your IP address is. You're finding a totally different set of Integras than what you would have if you searched in this area.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
But we always talk about this anyway as a brand confusion issue, and it may be that this is a good time to think about renaming your site and your business before you get too far down into the road of something that looks like there's a lot of other companies also using Integra in various forms in their brand name. You want something as unique as possible. And the further down that road you go, you really want to be making sure there's nothing that's going to confuse people, so that when you're building your brand, it's your brand you're building.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, I am. I'm all tuned into that. As I spent a year and a half tackling my website on my own, I actually tried it on my own, and then just I tore the whole thing apart. And it was the most beautiful thing I did, because then I restarted all from fresh and had a nice theme, and actually had all of those learning lessons and what to do wrong chiseled in place. And it turns out that it was much wiser just to start from scratch and do it again. And as I was able to implement all of the responsive components, the scaling and zooming and growing, and getting my header 1, H2 tags right, and making sure that I have the meta right. And I'm using Yoast. Todd, you used Yoast or like any kind of an SEO or any kind of a plugin?
I do, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's just using those. I'm a home inspector. I'm not a website guy, And
Which is why we have this show, gentlemen, right?
Oh,
We're busy out on the job site. And here's what I love too, Todd. I just want to give you a shout out. Look at all these great things that you're doing. I love that you've got the drone aerial photography, then you popped in the YouTube in here. So you have a lot of amazing bells and whistles that go with your business.
Oh, he is the ideal home inspector, is with his qualifications and skills and his abilities. Is he's exactly what the market needs. But the key is to get that projection and presence so that the market can find him, because everybody that finds him is going to get an outstanding inspection.
Yeah.
Sure. Is there anything else you want me to poke in here on the website?
I think this is one I'd like to have a proper dig through sometime and have a good little look around. But WordPress is great if you are going to be spending a lot of time on your website to post, to regularly add new content, to share things as they come up to you, because it's very easy to add stuff and take stuff away on the fly. And if you're going to do that, that's great. But if you were an inspector who was going to do much more of a brochure style site, where you're going to do it once really professionally, make it all glossy, and then pretty much leave it alone for a couple of years, you're too busy to blog, or that's just not in your skill set.
Right.
Don't go with a WordPress site, go with a plain HTML site for that kind of thing, because anything else is just more than you need and slower than you need. HTML gives you complete control over the code that's there, whereas the more plugins you add on WordPress, the more things there are in the background injecting their own parts into it. The theme you've got is putting in extra code on every page, whether or not you're using all the bells and whistles, it's still loading them all. I saw a great site the other day built on a wonderful, really expensive platform, but that platform is building so many bells and whistles. It's loading them all up in the background for every single page, and most pages aren't using them. It's making the site half the speed it should be, 3 times the code it needs to be, and that's just not efficient. So understand what you want from your site and build the site that delivers that.
That's actually a great question. And that's what I wanted to ask you today was, I've had these other experts tell me you need to be creating content, posting, blogging everywhere. What is the balance between taking this existing site and really optimizing it SEO-wise, getting your keywords, getting everything dialed in, versus continually adding new content? And I can't find that balance. I feel I'm overwhelmed with tasks that are just SEO related, let alone to create content. So
Okay.
I prefer to just have a brochure site, be honest with you. But
Yeah.
Such a great point.
So, Todd, let me ask you a quick question. How much time do you spend each week on marketing? All your different marketing activities, from organizing ads, getting your business cards printed, anything like that. What do you spend per week on marketing? What's in your budget?
at this point, 0. I find that in this local market, and Jeff is going to shake his head, no, you're wrong. I don't find marketing works in this local market. I find that, talking to agents, doing any form of traditional advertising, it falls flat. It's a waste of money. I find that actually the only thing that sells is my report. Basically, word gets around that this guy spent a lot of time with me, and that and my Google reviews, to be honest with you.
Okay, those are good, but that's not all marketing. Marketing is not just advertising, and even then, there's certain kinds of ads that work really well. If you've got a poster up of you, Inspector of the Month, in a realtor's office, that's going to be amazing marketing for you. And do you know what? That's no different to a billboard. It's just where it is and what the context is.
Right.
If you've hired the billboard outside that realtor, that's almost as smart, and he doesn't have any say over it. If you've hired the billboard opposite the only train station into town, that matters, or the one by the airport. The placement of your ads is something that you should think about. You should spend a couple of hours per week just brainstorming clever ways to drive new opportunities for you. Because you know what? Even if it only pays off once out of 6 months, that once is going to be worth all of those little 2 hours put together. And it really will, because it can skyrocket your business. And having a couple of hours to play with and to spend time knowing that you can be creative. What could I do this week is going to be so valuable to you. And sometimes it will be. You know, a lot of people keep asking me this question when we meet. Why don't I answer that on my website first? Obviously, it's something people have in mind. How many didn't come to me because there was somebody else that told them that and they went with them? So little things like that are the kind of thoughts you need to have time for and that are going to have great results for you. But also, in that week, think about what could I add this week that would be really interesting? What was the best inspection I did this month? Why did I enjoy it? What was it about serving the customer, whether they were the buyer, the seller, or a realtor? What was it about that I really enjoyed? Because now you're talking to the mindset of the kind of person who hired you and who will hire you. Talking about what they got out of it and why you connected with them is going to help the next person that's like that connect with you.
Would I be able to, Todd, thank you.
I love this in the audience. Thank you for sharing your process. We know it's not always easy, Todd, so we so appreciate you being on here. And I feel like we could do a whole show about Integra. I think that would be.
What I wanted to ask is, Ammon, can I, if you're going to tool this for an hour, can I, I'd like to see if I could match up with Todd and I'd just take care of paying for the resources. And what I'll do is Todd, you want to meet with Ammon and dig through it personally for an hour?
Sure, absolutely.
Great. Yeah, that way we'll be free of the noise and you can kind of focus on what's going on. And I promise you it'll never be the same.
And if you're watching this in the replay, you just watched the sausage making process. We're going to present the dish at the next event. Our episode number 5 is actually going to be website development. So this is going to be really fun to see actually what we do, because he has such a great basis. But Emin, one of the best takeaways today too is that a lot of people have these websites that, it would be like me having a shopping cart on my website when you can't order me. You know what I mean? Yes, you can order you can contact and get the pricing. So this will be exciting for us for our next show to see what we can do with Integra, which is doing great already. But then you're going to get, as Zara comment, Todd gets ammonized.
It's happened once or twice. Everybody that listens learns tremendously. It's just recognizing that we're home inspectors and we like to think that we can dig in and we know everything, and we can. But is it effective use of your time? Are you channeling your energy and being productive on where can you apply your skills best to move yourself most forward to achieving your goals, which is to satisfy, your family's needs. And a lot of times that means is handing over things. So let's make sure that Todd gets with Ammon so that he can get ammonized. He's gonna love that.
He is. And on that note, thank you everyone for joining us. If you have not watched the other episodes, please do. We put that in the links. We'll put that if you're watching this on YouTube or on our website. And we are done for the day. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.